In cities and small towns across the United States, older adults walk into clinics and hospitals every single day. The fluorescent lights hum waiting rooms, buzz with the shuffle of magazines and muted television screens, and a nurse eventually calls a name. What happens in the next 20 minutes can mean the difference between early treatment and months of suffering. Yet too often the outcome is decided by the first sentence a patient speaks. The wrong words can shut down curiosity limit testing and turn a visit into a missed opportunity. The truth is simple language shapes care. Harold, a 73-year-old retired mail carrier in Chicago, knew the ache in his knees was worse than before. As he sat across from his physician, he chuckled softly and said, "Doc, I guess I'm just getting old." The doctor nodded, scribbled a note, and recommended over-the-counter medication. But Harold wasn't just getting old. He was developing an inflammatory condition that would threaten his ability to walk. Months later, when he described it differently, "Every morning I wake up with 2 hours of stiffness. My knees are swollen, and I can't carry groceries without pain." The physician immediately ordered blood work. The diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis led to early intervention that saved Harold's independence. A single phrase changed everything. In Houston, Linda, 68, sat nervously in a cardiology clinic. For weeks, she had felt a heavy pressure in her chest. When the doctor asked how she was doing, she smiled politely and said, "I'm sorry to bother you." To her, it was politeness. To the physician, it was a cue that her complaint was not urgent. He moved quickly through the exam, ordered nothing, and sent her home. A month later, her daughter insisted she speak differently. "Doctor, I need to talk about chest pain that happens 3 or 4 times a week when I climb the stairs." The doctor's demeanor changed instantly. Tests revealed a serious blockage. A stent saved Linda's life, and it happened only because she stopped apologizing for needing care. Then there was George, 75, a grandfather from Arizona who spent late nights scrolling through health websites. He convinced himself that his persistent cough meant lung cancer. At his appointment, he declared, "The internet says I probably have cancer." His doctor, defensive and skeptical, listened briefly and recommended cough drops. The cough worsened. On his next visit, George tried a new approach. "I've had a new cough for 3 weeks. It's different from my allergies and wakes me up at night. I read that persistent coughs can have many causes. Can you help me understand what needs to be ruled out?" The physician ordered a chest X-ray, then a CT scan. It wasn't cancer, but pneumonia caught early enough for antibiotics. This time, the words opened the door instead of closing it. Across the country in Ohio, Margaret, 70, struggled with fatigue. At her appointment, she shrugged when asked about timing. "It's been happening a while. I can't really remember." Without a clear timeline, her doctor wondered about memory decline and ordered cognitive tests. The bills piled up. The fatigue persisted. Finally, her son encouraged her to keep notes. She wrote that her exhaustion started 12 weeks ago, just days after beginning a new blood pressure prescription. She marked on her calendar the first time she skipped her morning walk. With that information, her physician immediately recognized the problem. The medication was changed, and within 2 weeks, Margaret felt like herself again. A few written notes transformed a confusing case into a simple solution. In Florida, John, 69, trusted his doctor so completely that he never asked questions. At each visit, he said the same phrase: "Whatever you think is best, doctor." When prescribed a new blood pressure medication, he accepted it silently. Weeks later, he experienced dizzy spells while repairing his roof. He nearly fell. Only then did he admit his concerns. At his next visit, he said, "I want to understand the options and how each will affect my daily life. I do yard work, climb ladders, and need steady balance." His doctor listened differently this time. Together, they chose an alternative treatment with fewer side effects. The change protected not only his health, but his safety and independence. Perhaps the most powerful story comes from Grace, 65, a retired librarian from Boston. For years, she had apologized, minimized her pain, and let doctors decide without question. Her chronic back pain worsened until she could no longer walk to her local bookstore. Then she tried something new. She arrived at her next appointment with a single sheet of paper, a list of her symptoms, the exact dates they began, and her goals to reduce pain, enough to garden again, manage fatigue so she could rejoin her book club, and avoid medications that left her groggy. She looked her doctor in the eye and said, "I have important health information to share, and I'd like to discuss how each option fits with my goals." Her physician responded with attention she had never seen before. Tests were ordered. A tailored treatment plan was created. Within months, Grace was walking in the park again. Her recovery began with preparation and the courage to change her words. These stories reveal patterns that repeat in hospitals from New York to California. Certain phrases undermine care. "I'm just getting old" erases important symptoms. "I don't want to be a bother" diminishes urgency. The internet says, puts the doctor on defense. "I can't remember when it started" leaves the story incomplete. "Whatever you think is best" hands away control that patients should keep. Each phrase may sound harmless, but together they silence the very voices that need to be heard most. There are simple strategies to avoid these traps. Write down when symptoms begin, even if it's only approximate: the week after Thanksgiving, 2 days after my dental surgery, or right after my granddaughter's wedding. Bring one page that lists your medications, your symptoms, and 3 questions you want answered. Ask, "How will this treatment affect my daily activities?" Bring a spouse, child, or friend who can support you, and fill in details you might forget. For telemedicine visits, begin by saying, "I have important health information to share. My symptoms began on this date, and here is how they've changed." These actions may seem small, but they create structure that doctors respect. They transform a rushed visit into a true conversation. The message is not about demanding or arguing. It is about being clear, specific, and prepared. Healthcare in America is busy, pressured, and often rushed. But a patient's words can slow things down, create space, and shift a doctor's mindset from assumption to investigation. Clarity invites testing. Specifics invite solutions. Assertiveness invites respect. The next time an older adult in America steps into a clinic, whether it is a shiny hospital in Los Angeles or a small family practice in rural Iowa, the power of their words will shape the outcome. Those first 30 seconds hold the potential to change the rest of their life. With better words, Appointments no longer end with dismissal. They end with answers, with treatment, and with hope.